Hey folks, this is Johnny, and this video is going to deal with MIDI program changes and how Studio One handles them for external MIDI gear. This would be gear that's hooked up through the old style MIDI port in the back of either your interface, or if you've got something like an M-Audio 4x4 or 2x4 where we've got a bunch of old keyboards and sound modules hooked up. This is going to be the first video in a series. This one is going to deal with just a single module and how Studio One can be programmed to page through the different sounds in the module. Now, it's not as elegant as some DAWs where you've actually got a sound list. It's got the brand name of the module and a pre-programmed setup for the sounds. Some of this stuff is so old that's not even available anymore for anybody to program. But in this particular case, I've auditioned a bunch of sounds and kind of wrote down what the sounds were per their program numbers, and it's made it really easy to go ahead and set this up. So now Studio One's got a great option for auditioning, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that it can do before I actually show you how to set it up. So here we are in the full screen, and if you look at this here, in the little screen, actually, you know what, I'm going to go back to the split screen. So if you look at the Studio One song, you can actually see that I've got all of the parts here, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and I've got 4 program changes actually set up here in the automation part of the MIDI edit window. And what you're going to do is you're going to see on this module right here, keep an eye right here where my thumb is, and keep an eye on that for how it changes when each of the different parts come up in Studio One. So here's what we have, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. 4 program changes. Let's see what it does. And the final one, just a simple drum kit, and you can see that the program changes changed on each of the patches, and you can see that when I rewound back, it changed to whatever the first one is. So here's what it looks like. Here's what the program change parts actually look like. You can see that it works just like automation, and I'm going to show you how to set this up here in a few minutes, but I want to start from scratch on how to get your module recognized by Studio One. So let's move out, and let's go first to the full screen right here. There we go. And what I'm going to do is show you in Studio One, I'm going to show you how to set up the instrument track. So let me shut the edit. So the very first thing that you have to do is to set up the external instrument, which is similar to the internal instruments, only obviously it's for external devices outside gear, outside of Studio One. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Studio One, we're going to go to Options, and it's Preferences on a Mac. And if you look right here, I have this here, the Proteus Custom setup. But if you look at all of my external devices here, like the fader port and the keyboards that I have hooked up, you can see that the icon looks a lot different. Okay, so let me go ahead and zoom back out. So what we're going to want to do here with this is hit Add, and we're going to want to choose New Instrument. Now, some people have confused this with using this to set up the external keyboards, to trigger your MIDI. That is an external device, and that actually is set up under New Keyboard. Notice the keys. Now, since this is an external instrument, it does, however, work on the same premise as an external or as an internal instrument, like Presence or Impact or my MT Power drums. So the way that it's used in the instrument track or the MIDI track is the same: internal instrument, external instrument. They will all show up in the list, but you have to set it up as an instrument. Okay, so now I know it's a little bit confusing, but let me show you how this works. So what you do is when you're ready to set up something for your external instrument here, you're going to want to use your MIDI ports on like your audio box. You got the MIDI ports in the back. So you'll go out of the back of your audio box, out of the MIDI out, into the MIDI in on your device. Now, what this does is this sets up the communication between Studio One and the device. So now what we want to do is set up the part where Studio One can talk to that device, and that is done like this. You would actually go ahead and click Add, then you would click New Instrument, and then, unlike the external device where you would use the receive from, you're going to want to use the send to. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on send to and then set it up to go out whatever MIDI port. So if you've got an audio box, see, I got the audio box I2, you see it says MIDI out. If that's what you're using, then you would actually select that, and that opens up the communication for Studio One to your external instrument. In my case, I am using the MIDI Sport 4x4, so I would actually choose output A. So let me show you what it looks like when it's all set up. I don't want to save this. I'm going to go to the one that I set up. You can see what I did here. All right, so I went ahead and renamed it Proteus Custom. I have the send to going to my MIDI Sport 4x4 out A, and then I have all of the MIDI channels selected. So that means I can set up a track. You can see up here, the track is set for channel 1 because that's the channel that I have set on my on the Proteus. So you'll be able to go ahead and activate them all, and you can hook up multiple MIDI devices and have them all set to their own channel. So I would recommend hitting all. And then if you're going to hook up a sequencer that is triggering other MIDI instruments or a drum machine that you want to keep time with Studio One, then you're going to want to make sure that you activate the MIDI, the send MIDI clock and the use MIDI clock start, and make sure that those are all set. I have done another video on send MIDI time code, and that's basically for full songs. If you've got a song position pointer where you want to, if you have a 5-minute song, you go to the 2-minute mark, the sequencer will follow you, but we're not going to get into that right now. So this is the setup for my Studio One to communicate with my Proteus, just like that. So make sure you get a good look at that, how I did that. You're going to click OK, and now that's all set up. I'm going to click OK here. So once you have that all set up, you're going to want to open the inspector because it's going to give you some new options. It's going to give you this. It's going to give you the program and bank options for you to be able to audition sounds before you start recording. The other thing that this does is once this is set to a particular sound in your module, the next time you open up this song and the MIDI module is hooked up to the MIDI cable, it will automatically select that sound when the song is started. So it's kind of a nice default for a particular song. You don't have to go scouring for what the last sound was that you used. All right, so in this case, I can now take this. Let me go to the split screen here, and I want you to watch the panel over here. I want you to watch the panel here. I want you to watch the program bank and number change as I audition certain sounds. So here I'm going to go ahead and go over here. So if I go ahead and I arm the track, I've got the track pointing to the Proteus Custom, just like that. And I'm going to now go ahead and use the program bank to actually audition sounds and watch as the Proteus keeps up with what I choose. So here is, let's see, this one should be a guitar sound. So let me do this. Let me get my sustain pedal here. Here we go. There we go. That's a nice piano string sound. I'm going to go down to a different bank. And you can see that the only thing that's off is the number for the program. It looks like that the MIDI module, the Proteus actually is going from 0 to 127, and Studio One on the program side is going from 1 to 128. So it's a little bit weird, but you just got to remember, you can see here I got this set to 17, and if you look at the module here, it says it's 16. But it's got the bank right, bank 0. You can see it right there, and then there's the name of the sound that I'm using. All right. So now I can actually go ahead. I'm going to keep it on bank 0, and I'm going to go through some of the sounds. There we go. And let's go ahead to let's go to 20. Ooh, that's a cool one. And then let's see, what else do we want to try? We want to audition. There we go. There's a nice bass. See, try this. There we go. And we can even go up on the banks. And I want you to watch the screen there for the Proteus. You see now it went to bank 1. And this is sound number 23 on bank 1. Oh, nice. There we go. That's a nice little bass. We'll just do one more so you guys can really see it. This looks like, oh, this is called harmonics. Nice. So you can see that you can audition the sounds that you want for a particular track. This will be different for all tracks. You can have some defaults set up so that when you open up your song, Studio One will automatically select the bank in the particular module to whatever this is set for when you actually fire up your song. Okay, so now let's look at the edit window here. And this is the edit window. I just have it on full screen. You can see there's the track still. And what I want to show you here is I want to show you now how these program changes are set up, like when I played it earlier in the video. So one of the things that you have to do is I'm going to go ahead and hide these so that you can see me choose them. Okay, so in order to open up your MIDI window, it's very, very simple. You can either just click on, you select your event and you click on edit, and there it is. Or you can just simply double click on the event itself and it opens up the MIDI edit window. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to open up the edit and automation panels here for my MIDI edit window. And we're going to click on the little plus sign right here. Or actually we click on this, or wait a minute, this one. There it is. And there is the edit window and the automation parameters for the MIDI data that we have here. So we've got velocity, modulation, pitch, bend. Here's all the sustain commands that I do with the pedal. And then there are two that you've never seen before, many of you. Bank select LSB, and that is for the banks on my module. And then the program change, which is for the individual sounds within the bank. So now the cool thing about this is we can set this up in a dual window capacity. So I'm going to click on the plus sign again. And now we have a second window. So if I go ahead and I raise these windows up, I'm going to set the first one to the banks, and then I'm going to set the second one to the program change. So now this is great because now these start to look like the traditional automation that is available in Studio One. And we can do it as we do regular automation if we're going to be programming with a mouse. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. You can actually grab the dot and drag it up and down to choose your setting. You see, I've got this one set for bank 3, and at that same time change, I've got it set for program 8. Okay, so now there is an easy way to do this, and the easy way is to click once to create a dot, and then right-click on that dot to put in your value. So if you know that your sound that you're looking for is on bank 3, program change 17, then once the playhead hits this spot right here, it will change the patch in your module. Okay, it's very cool. And what's important is there has to be both of these programmed in order for it to work. If you've only got the bank change, you're not going to see the bank change. You've got to have a program change and a bank change in line with each other so that the module knows it's time to change. If you only have one, it will not work. That's really important. Okay, so here we have, in this window, we have this one here. If you hold your mouse over it, it tells you what it's set to. At this spot right here after the piano, it is going to go to bank 2, and then it's going to go to patch number 8. Okay, now this is correct. So if you see that your MIDI number assignments are off, there is a way to check for that. You're going to right-click in this area right here, and you can either choose MIDI, which will give you a 0 through, I believe it's 0 through 127. And if you have percentage, which is the way that Studio One is set up by default, then your numbers are going to be a little bit different. Then you can see here it's 0 to 100. So that's not going to work for you. So you definitely want to choose MIDI so that your assignments here match what's on the module. Now, like I said before, this program here for the auditioning part and the default for the when you open your song is a little different. I think it's a bug, not sure. But this is the one that you're really concerned about, is that these are set to MIDI. So you have the 0 through 127 option to change in your module. So now that we have that set up, let's see. So we've got the first one we got here is the piano. And this is going to be set to, this is program change 0, patch 0. And it's going to be bank 1. So this should be a piano. Beautiful. And now at this point right here, it changed to sound number 8 within bank 2. Now this went to, let's see what this one went to. This one went to back to bank 1. And that was sound number 12. And then this one went to bank 3. And sound number 8. That's the drums. And there you go. If you were watching closely, you are actually seeing the numbers change. Let me go back to this here. You were actually seeing the numbers change right here as the patches went by. And like I said, there is no mapping or anything to actually show you what module you have to tell you what sounds are there. So the greatest way to do that is to use the audition option. I'm going to leave it on this screen for right now. And I'm going to show you that as I go through the numbers right here. Let me go ahead and zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. As I go through the numbers here, you are going to see them change in the window here on the Proteus. I know that I've done this once, but I want to make sure everybody gets it. There we go. I'm on bank 2, bank 3, and if I go to bank 4, it says it's not installed. I don't have another card in there. So let's go back to bank 3. And I'm playing sound. If I go here, sound 26, even though this says 27. These are off by a number. Not sure why, but there you have it. And let's go to a different sound. Let's see what I got here. What else do I have? Well, there we go. There we go. Let's explore a little bit more. Very cool. Don't even know what that is. Oh, there we go. There's some percussion. There we go. So there is your audition. And like I said, you can do that. You can use this option a couple of ways. You will be able to, let me see if I can get back here to the full screen. You will be able to set this up as the default for this channel. Whenever you open up Studio One, you can see right now it is the drum kit. So if I go ahead, let me find a better sound. Okay, there's a flute. I'm going to leave that at bank number 3, sound number 6, and I'm going to do a save. And now I'm going to close the song. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen the song. You can see nothing's working on the keyboard. I can reopen the song. And it defaults. So let me do this. Since that was saved with 3 and 6, I'm just going to drop this down. You see it's some kind of guitar sample. Now I'm going to close it. Okay, I don't want to save it because when I open it, I want it to shoot me right back to the flute. Now, the cool thing is, since this progression was saved with the program changes, the minute I hit play, the automation here for the program and bank changes will automatically update, and you should hear the piano again. Beautiful. Should automatically change to the strings and so on. So when I go back, you can see it's still on the piano. Now all I got to do is just go here to start re-auditioning certain sounds. And that is how the program banks work in Studio One for particular modules. Now, in order to add these things here, you might be asking, how did you get those there? All right, it's very simple. What you do is you go down here and you click on, let's see if I can find it here. I'm not seeing it. and you click on, oh, here it is. You click on these little dots right here. It says add and remove. I'm going to click on this, and you can see it opens up the MIDI parameters, and you will find the LSB and the program change. You will find them over here in this list. Once you find what you need, here is an MSB. That's for different types of modules. And of course, you're going to have to experiment with some of these to see what works for your program changes. But you simply click on the parameter you want, you hit add, and then it adds it to the list. You click close, and now it is in the list, the Bank LSB or the Bank MSB. And it is that simple. It is a little involved, not nearly as simple as some DAWs that have lists of the sounds per the modules that you're using with them. But this is a great option in Studio One to be able to start with program changes with external modules. So I'm going to be doing more videos now on multiple modules, using multi-timbral, using different modules like maybe a drum machine and the Proteus, and maybe my Alesis DM5. I'm going to go ahead and make different videos to show how it all works with different configurations. I'll show you the MIDI hookups and everything. So I do hope that this was useful. There are going to be more MIDI videos coming out. There's also a brand new group on Facebook called HST Studio One MIDI Group. And I will be building up videos and getting more members to that group so that those of you that know more about this than I do. Now, this is just rudimentary, and I just started really working on this part of it. So there's got to be a bunch of you that actually know a little bit more. And eventually I will get the link to that group here underneath the description of this video. And then everybody can join, and I'll teach you what I know. You guys teach me what you know, and maybe together we can form an alliance for those of us that would love to use our external MIDI gear. So I hope you guys found that helpful. I will see you in the next MIDI video coming up. Thank you.